Hare Krishna, Shri Salika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, our God is to Gurudev, our God is to Shri Prabhupada. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So, if you're ready, we're going to put the verse on the screen and we start.
All right, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. All right, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I'm just trying to go online. Good. I think I'm done with that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naraychavam Naruttamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatu Jayam Udiraye Nasta Apraishu Abhadrishu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamam Sloki Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So I want to greet each and everyone on the platform. Good afternoon from Nigeria. Good morning to those who are in the morning, and good evening to those who are having evening, wherever we are located as of now. So before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, I should offer a respectful obeisance to Narayan Narayan Kishi, the supreme human being, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam. For regular attendance in classes of Srimad Bhagavatam, all that is disturbance, the earth is almost completely eradicated. Our loving devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is established as an irrevocable fact. So this afternoon we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 1 and chapter 12, text number 3. The subtitle is The Death of the Emperor King Parikshit. So I'll read the Sanskrit text, transliteration, Srila Prabhupada's purport, and then we try to share realization. Tad idam srotum ichamo goditum yadiman yase bruhina strada dana anaham yasya gyanam adakshuka. Tad idam srotum ichamo goditum yadiman yase bruhina strada dana anaham yasya gyanam adakshuka. Tadi idam srotum echamo gaditum yadi man yase bruhina strada da amanaham yasya gyanam adashita. What was translation? Synonyms. That, all. Idam, this. Srotum, to hear. Ichama, all willing. Gaditum, to narrate. Yadi, if. Man yase, you think. Bruhi, speak. Please speak. Na we, Shraddha who are very much respectful. Yasyaha Wus, Gyanam, transcendental knowledge. Adat, delivered. Sukaha, Sri Sukadev, Goswami. Translation by the English Prabhupada. We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Sukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. Purport by the Evangelist Abhay Charanaravinda Sivati Viren Swami. Patita Pavan Jagadru Segal Devashila Prabhupada Jai. Sukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge to Maharaj Parikshit during the remaining 7 days of his life. And Maharaj Parikshit heard him properly, just like an ardent student. The effect of such a bona fide hearing and chanting of Srimad Bhagavatam was equally shared by both the hearer and the chanter. Both of them were benefited out of the 9 different transcendental means of devotional service to the Lord prescribed in the Bhagavatam. Either all of them, or some of them, or even one of them are equally beneficial if properly discharged. Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami were serious performers of the first 2 important items, namely the process of chanting and the process of hearing. And therefore, both of them were successful in their laudable attempt. The transcendental realization is at hearing and not otherwise. There is a type of spiritual master much advertised in this stage of Kali. It is said that the master injects spiritual force into the disciple by an electrical current generated by the master. And the disciple begins to feel the shock. It becomes unconscious, and the master weeps for his exhausting store of so-called spiritual assets. Such bogus advertisement is going on in this state, and the poor common man is becoming the victim of such advertisement. We do not find such folk tales in the dealing with this Goswami and his great disciple Maharaj Parikshit. The sage recited Srimad Bhagavatam in devotion, and the great king heard him properly. The king did not feel any shock of electrical current from the master, nor did he become unconscious while receiving knowledge from the master. One should not therefore become a victim of this unauthorized advertisement made by some bogus representative of Vedic knowledge. The sages of Naimi Saranya were very respectful in hearing about Maharaj Parikshit because of his receiving knowledge from Sukadev Goswami by means of ardent hearing. Ardent hearing from the bona fide master is the only way to receive transcendental knowledge. And there is no need for medical performances or occult mysticism for miraculous effects. The process is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired result. Hare Krishna. Om Gyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Chalat Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dada Ati Swam Pada Atikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapati Gopisha Gopika Kakanta Radhakanta Namostute Tata Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Karpata Rubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Sevasya Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tata Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Karpata Rubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Sevasya Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Tat dam stotum e chamo. Garitum yadi man yase. Gruhi na stradadana nam. Yasya gyanam adakshu ka. We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Sukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Speak, please speak on this matter. Hare Krishna. So once again, I want to welcome all of the devotees to this most auspicious moment of the day, where we have the opportunity to engage in the essence of human activities in life. The Srimad Bhagavatam is said in the first canto, chapter 3, text number 43. Srimad Bhagavatam, this Bhagavad Purana, is described as brilliant as the sun. And it is said to have arisen after the departure of Lord Sri Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. And it is described in that verse that persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana called Bhagavad Purana. Actually, the whole of material world is very dark. And it's more even darker in this age of Kali because of all of the unfortunate situations that surround the age. So for anyone living or existing in this age to experience the essence of the self, the soul, this Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the most active panacea or solution that can solve all of human difficulties. The chapter we're reading this evening, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam, from any chapter, from any canto, from any text that is read, it gives a perfection of human life to either one is a listener or a reader. And that is the essence of the verse we're reading this afternoon. This text we're reading is actually a statement by Sonaka Rishi on behalf of the sages of 9 Orion. After Lord Krishna arrived back at Dwarkadish, narration. The sages are asking Sutta Goswami from the text number 1 of this chapter. Maharishi led the sages to ask Sutta Goswami to narrate the birth of that glorious personality, Maharaj Parikshit. And why is it necessary? Because by hearing such narrations, one attains the ultimate goal of human existence. So Sonaka Rishi was asking to Sukadev Goswami that we are very eager to hear this narration. Why are we eager to hear this narration? Because this narration that describes the activities of the Lord and his pure devotees, as mentioned by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, are the essence of all cure for all the difficulties that arises in the age of Kali. Maharaj Parikshit, as we know, is the posthumous son of Abhimanyu, the surviving child of the Pandavas. The story of Aswatthama, we've had that in the previous canto. But the significance of the hearing about these pastimes of Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami in this particular text is focusing on two subject matter. And the subject matter is the qualification. Sometimes devotees ask this question. Devotional service is said to be the medicine, the panacea, the solution to all human difficulties. And we see that people join the Hare Krishna movement 40 years, 30 years, 20 years. Srila Rupa Goswami have said in the Nectar of Devotion and in Nectar of Instruction, just by hearing once the name of Krishna or his activities, one becomes completely freed from material entanglement. So sometimes one wonders why, after hearing so many years, after hearing so many times, after attending so many classes, after listening to many pastimes of Krishna, why someone doesn't experience the scene of the physical presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said that if one read the Srimad Bhagavatam, if one hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, if one carries the Srimad Bhagavatam and look at the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, he should be able to see the Supreme Personality, because that is the purpose of just that powerful book. But where we are not able to see this, that is the subject matter Prabhupada laid emphasis in the purport of this verse we're reading. So Nakarishi is asking Sukadev Goswami why. He said, we want you to speak. Why is he asking him to speak? Because Sukadev Goswami is qualified. The efficacy of hearing and chanting the name, pastimes, glorification of the Lord and his devotee is the essence of the verse we are reading today. But how we hear, sometimes when this kind of statement is made about the scriptures, sometimes it sounds as mythology because we can't relate to it. How is it that someone just by hearing some narration, one becomes completely purified? In the Narada Bhakti Sutra, Sri Narada Muni said, in the Narada Bhakti Sutra, text number 56, he said, nonetheless, from time to time, pure love of God is revealed to those who are qualified. And that is the essence of the purport Prabhupada gave to this text. In other words, Sutta Goswami is most qualified. So because he's most qualified, he is being requested by the sages to narrate. In other words, as mentioned in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, it is not just enough to hear or to chant the name, pastimes, glories of the Lord or his devotees. One must capture the qualification that is required. In other words, it requires a qualification why we engage in devotional service and we cannot experience Krishna in our day-to-day life. In the purport to 1 Canto chapter 3, that's in chapter 3, text number 44. Prabhupada gave one in that text. Srila Prabhupada, while giving explanation, that text says that O learned Brahmana, this Goswami is still Sunakarishi is still speaking in that verse. He said that when Sukadev Goswami recited Bhagavatam, there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, Sukadev Goswami said, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him, and as I have realized it. In the purport to that verse, 1 Canto 3rd chapter, text number 44, the last paragraph, Prabhupada gave the essence of the activities of least chanting or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. In the last paragraph of that purport, Prabhupada said that the real process of receiving Bhagavatam is that what one should hear with rapt attention. Sukadev Goswami is mentioning here that he listened with rapt attention. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport of that verse that one should hear with rapt attention from the real person. Then, if one does that, one can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, if one is not able to see Krishna in every pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Vedic scripture, then it means that what? He has not developed the rapt attentive mood of listening or hearing or chanting the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada gave the secret of being able to listen in a rapt attentive manner. In that same purpose, Prabhupada continued, he said that the secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here in this verse. He said, no one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. In other words, one cannot be able to hear this Srimad Bhagavatam, even if it is recited from now till next millennium, if one is not pure in mind. But how then do one become pure in mind? Prabhupada goes further to explain that no one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. In other words, our action must be in line with the purity that we aspire to be. In other words, our character, our activity must be in line with the tenets that is given in the scriptures. Otherwise, reciting or hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam will just be an exercise. So Prabhupada goes further in that part. He said that no one can also be even pure in mind, in action, if he's not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or other, if one's ears with rapt attention from the right person at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Sri Krishna in person in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the secret of benefiting from this exercise that we have opportunity to do every other day. In other words, one can become a beneficiary of the benefits that is inherent in the Srimad Bhagavatam if he is able to develop rapt attention. In the purport to the verse, Prabhupada emphasized that Sukadev Goswami imparted the knowledge to Sutta Goswami and to Maharaj Parikshit in 7 days. And Sukadev Goswami was there in that assembly. And with rapt attention he had. And that is his qualification that makes the sages, led by Sunaka Rishi, to ask him to speak. In other words, for one to benefit from the recitation or hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, one must hear from the right person, and one must also possess the quality of Marat Parikshit. Unless one develops the qualities like that of Marat Parikshit, one cannot derive the benefit that is inherent in Srimad Bhagavatam. Although Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the light that removes the darkness that is concomitant with the activities of Kali Yuga, but one will not be able to benefit if he does not possess that quality that is required. And what is that quality? One must possess the purification of the mind. And that purification of the mind can only happen if one have a purified activities, as mentioned by Srila Prabhupada. And how do one develop a pure activities? One must be purified in his eating, sleeping, and defending. And that is why the principles of freedom as given by Srila Prabhupada is most essential in our ability to be able to develop the required qualification of bhakti, which gives us attainment of the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that out of 9 process different transcendental means of devotional service, referencing Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj given in 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 9 processes, Savanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. 9 of them processes that has the potency to take one back home, back to God. In other words, to give one the essence or the goal of Krishna consciousness. And the 9 processes are so potent and so powerful, so much so that even though one is able to just do one of it, one can attain the ultimate goal of bhakti, which is to see Krishna face to face. And Prabhupada mentioned that Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami were perfect, serious performance of these 2 important items of bhakti, chanting and hearing. Sukadev Goswami is a perfect reciter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because why? He himself has heard from a perfect master. In other words, for one to be able to derive benefit in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one must hear from the right source. One also must develop the proper qualification as a proper listener or hearer. And Prabhupada emphasized in the purport that transcendental realization is attained by such serious hearing and chanting, and not otherwise. In other words, one cannot derive the benefit of bhakti if he does not develop the qualification that is required to practice bhakti or devotional service. And Prabhupada made some very nice analogy here in the purport. Actually, 50 years ago, when Srila Prabhupada was writing this text, someone in Africa or West Africa may not understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying. But some of us who are, especially in the West African region, will be able to see what Prabhupada is trying to explain here. The type of spiritual masters that are permeating in Kali Yuga. Our fellow brothers in the other tradition. It is very prominent today. In fact, no one is considered a powerful pastor if he cannot make his followers fall out of touching their head. So when I'm reading this purport, I'm just seeing in Africa today the potency of a very powerful man of God is to see that when he touches the followers, they fall down. We see so many videos of this online these days. But 50 years ago, when Papa was writing this is not very prevalent. People could not understand. But Papa could see, because what Papa could see so many of these kind of things going on in India and even in the West at that time. But today is the norm in Africa, in West, especially in Africa today, in South Africa, in all of the whole of Africa. People are glorified as a very powerful pastor, minister of God, if by their touching their followers' head, they can fall. And we see all of this kind of a drama. And Papa is emphasizing here, this is actually fake. It's a charade. It's bogus. Papa is explaining here. He said such bogus advertisement is going on everywhere in this age. And the poor man is becoming a victim of such advertisements. We've seen even some of our devotees who joined the movement in the early days. Some of them have had an encounter and they left the movement. And when you ask them, they say, no, the one problem with our Krishna movement is that we speak so much philosophy, but we don't do miracles. When my pastor touches somebody's head, it will fall down. It will start convulsing. And they consider that to be sign of development, of potency, of spirituality. But here, Papa is defeating that argument. He's saying that is bogus. Of course, the narration of the stories of Maharaj Parikshit, when we look at the personalities in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when you read Mahabharata, Maharaj Parikshit wasn't just an ordinary personality. Because he was born by not an ordinary personality. He was such a great personality. And because of his uncommon qualification, one who by the grace of the Lord, see the Lord in within the womb. His name, Parikshit, means an examiner, as translated by Srila Prabhupada. We know how Asatama uses the Brahmastra, and his mother's womb was destroyed by the weapon, the Brahmastra, and she always had a miscarriage. But the Lord entered into the womb to protect Maharaj Parikshit. And this is the significance of coming in contact with the Lord. In other words, one cannot develop taste for Krishna consciousness unless he have an encounter with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we look at the story of Dhruva Maharaj, when we look at the story of Narada Muni in his previous life, and when we look at so many great personalities in the Vedic scriptures, they are coming in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, arises that uncommon taste for hearing and glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because of the quality of the personality of Sutta Goswami, the sages of Naimi Sarana, we are respectful. Because it was a perfect representative of the Lord to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because he was an ardent hearer of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada emphasized in the purport here that the qualification for one to be able to speak, to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that one must develop the quality of an ardent hearer of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that comes by purification of the mind. And that purification of the mind cannot come if one does not engage in the 4 basic activities of human life in a purified way. And Prabhupada, in the last sentence of the purport, emphasized something very important. The qualification that is required for a practitioner. So the process of bhakti is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired result. In other words, the whole essence of the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all of the Vedic literatures is inherent in one developing sincerity. That same statement is made by Srila Prabhupada in the purport of chapter 10, verse 10 of Bhagavad Gita, that of all of the qualities that is required for one to be able to develop the qualification of bhakti or devotion, one must develop sincerity of purpose. It is not about mysticism or some special qualification. In another Bhakti Sutra, another Muni said that success is easier to attain by devotional service than any process. And that process is simple. Why is it simple? Because everyone has the ability to do what? To chant, to hear. By the grace of the Lord, everyone has got a tongue. By the grace of the Lord, everyone has a ear to hear. Another Muni said that the reason why devotional service is the easiest of all spiritual processes is that because it does not depend on any other thing. Devotional service does not depend on anything. Devotional service is dependent on devotional service. Devotional service is the authority. In other words, if one wants to engage in any other process, it requires some authority from some other source. But bhakti, devotional service, depends only on devotional service. And this devotional service is easily attainable in this age of Kali by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has given us this simple process, hearing and chanting. Arainam, Eva Kivalam, Kalau Nasti Gati, Anyata. That just by hearing, just by this hearing process, just hearing, just this process of hearing, then one wonders, so why is it that we hear it so much? And we cannot experience the presence of the Lord in our day-to-day life. The secret is given in the purport to this verse by Srila Prabhupada. That one has to purify his engagement of eating, sleeping, fearing, and defending. And by such purified activities, one will develop the purification of the mind. And when the mind is purified, then one can develop the proper hearing attitude. And when one is sufficiently hear from the Lord and his devotees, these wonderful narrations, then one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead everywhere. So this Krishna consciousness is the greatest gift to humanity in this age of Kali. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it very simple. Just chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just by chanting this holy name, Chetu Dapana Majanam. By this process of hearing and chanting, everything can be achieved in this age. And the sages of Namisaranya, headed by Sunaka Rishi, is asking, study for struggle. Go ahead and speak to us. Let us hear this narration of the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, his activities. Why was he able to sit down undistracted for complete 7 good days with rapt attention? He was born of a royal background. He has everything. In one of the purposes that Papa mentioned, Maharaj Parikshit has everything that anyone can think of for enjoyment in this age. But yet, when he had the cause of the young Brahmana boy, he could counteract it. He's such a powerful personality that, but he could counteract the cause. He has able Brahmanas surrounded him in his kingdom. But he did not do all of that. So the sages of Brahmanism, they are asking, so why is he able to do this? Why is he able to just leave everything? Because by the grace of the Lord, right from the womb, he has developed that passion, that taste. And that's why he's given the name Parikshit, because when he was eventually born, he was looking out for everywhere for that personality who saved him while he was in the womb. So the beginning, the end, the middle of Krishna consciousness is to develop such an ardent mood of hearing from the right personality. That is the qualification for becoming a bhakta, a devotee in Krishna consciousness. When this platform was started about 2 years ago, at the advent of COVID-19, until date, there are almost about 200 devotees. I'm not talking about karmis. There are about 200 devotees or more on this platform. But each and every other day, when we come here, we see 9, 7, 10. On a good day, maybe you see 12 or 13 devotees. Then one wonders, why? Because unless one is blessed by the Supreme Lord and is devotee, like Maharaj Parikshit, one cannot develop taste for this Krishna and his pastimes. And the way to develop that such a taste, the number one qualification is mentioned in the end of the purpose by Srila Prabhupada. One has to develop sincerity of purpose. And sincerity of purpose is what? To regulate the activities of eating, sleeping, appearing, and defending oneself. It is mentioned somewhere that one who is attracted to sex life and sense gratification cannot recite nor hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. The taste, the affinity, the attraction to hearing the Lord's name, his glorification, can only manifest in the heart of someone who sincerely cultivates the process of bhakti, which is simple, hearing and chanting. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness. Our devotional development, our devotional advancement in Krishna consciousness is measured by how much we're attracted to hearing and speaking about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. As Sunaka Rishi is mentioning here, Sutta Goswami, please speak about these wonderful narrations and activities. Why? Because you are the most qualified, because you have had it. And Sukadev Goswami himself, he said, yes, I'm speaking this narration. I'm reciting this narration because I've also had it from a qualified representative like Sukadev Goswami. We've had the life narration of Sukadev Goswami, who he was. If someone is born, if someone is someone had a pregnancy in this age, and he stays in the womb for 2 years or 3 years, then they will say some Ogbanje is actually worrying the river. Some village woman is actually doing some juju or some voodoo. But Sukadev Goswami was in the womb of his mother for 14 good years. And while in the womb, as narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam, he could speak with his father, he could speak with his mother. And at the time, his father has to plead with him, please come out. I plead with you, please come out. He said, I don't want to come out. I don't want to come out. Because I don't want to get contaminated. Because this material existence, this material existence is a big contamination. And the only protection that exists is the shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shiva Surachari narrated nicely the story the other time. And after so much plea, Sukadev Goswami agreed to come out. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the third chapter, I think it is the third chapter, later part of the third chapter of this canto, and early fourth chapter of the Bhagavatam, it is narrated. How Sukadev Goswami, and when he eventually come out, just walk away. He was an avadita. He wasn't interested in anything mundane or external. Now, today, modern context, he will be called a madman. But the sages of the time, they knew who he was because they themselves are elevated personalities. So if anyone who doesn't want the influence of Kali Yuga or this age to affect him in any way in this life, one has to take shelter of this Srimad Bhagavatam. One has to hear. When we go for that, in this chapter, we'll start seeing when Sutta Goswami, when he will start speaking in the next verse, how Maharaj Yudhishthira who is the grandfather of Maharaj Parikshit, his qualification is mentioned. The purport to that was properly mentioned that there is a need for the science of Krishna conscious Krishna in human society for all the suffering humanity of the world. And Prabhupada said, we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the science of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society, and for the good of all people of the world. So Prabhupada said, so it's confirmed here by the example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the personality of goodness. In India, the people anchor after Rama Rajya because the personality of God was the ideal king, and all other kings or emperors in India control the destiny of the world. In other words, Prabhupada is emphasizing that if anyone wants to be free, it is interesting. With the program earlier this morning, and people were talking about COVID-19 and the new variant of COVID-19, and I was explaining, and I had to speak, and I was explaining. I said, why are we so much, everybody is so much worried about COVID-19? People should be worried about what is going to happen after COVID-19, because COVID-19 is just one page. It's just one page in the book of this world. Before COVID-19, there was Ebola, and everybody was. And before Ebola, there was a time in the history of the world, malaria was the major crisis. If you contacted malaria, you are gone. There was a time that cholera was the major disease. When Prabhupada, when we read Prabhupada the Lamrita, when Prabhupada was growing, when he was a child, the world pandemic situation was surrounded around cholera. That cholera is a death sentence. And today is COVID-19. Tomorrow it will be another thing. But material nature will not give us anything more pleasant than what is given, because that is the nature of material nature. Material nature is going to constantly give some troubles. Whether it is COVID-19, whether it is this one, it is going to be one thing or the other. There's never going to be a time in this material world that there's not going to be one challenge or the other challenge. But like it is said in that first canto chapter 3, the verse I quoted earlier, this age is such a dark, dense age. And this Sutta Goswami described that in the earlier part of this canto. But this Bhagavad Purana, this Srimad Bhagavatam, is a shelter for those who are going to be freed from this miserable situation of conditional life of suffering. Lord Krishna has told Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamopetya Punarjama Dukalayam Sasutam. The material world is full of miserable situations. There's always going to be trouble. And chief among them is what? Death, old age, disease. No one can escape from all of this. No one can escape. Sometimes when we join Krishna consciousness, when we start following the path of Krishna consciousness, sometimes we get carried away and we get distracted by the external circumstances that's going on in the material world. And sometimes we feel that we get absorbed in the mentality of the people of the material world. But devotees of the Lord are not supposed to be part of this. The great personality, the great persons in this age, they do not dwell on the external situation that is going on. They are absorbed. That is what Parikshit taught by his life. There could not be any moment that is more challenging in anyone's life than the moment of death. In the beginning of the Srimad, it's mentioned that this book is meant for those who are about to die. And who among us is not about to die? Who can tell that I'm not about to die? Each and every one of us is about to die. The most unfortunate thing is that we do not even know whether we have 7 days like Mother Parikshit. So, but for someone who was about to die, the only medication, the only solution, the only panacea is to hear these narrations of the Lord. The sages of Namisala, they said, when they started posting the question at the beginning of Srimad, they said, we want you to give us what is the good for all humanity, for all humanity. Yesterday, he wrote the 4 Vedas, and he wrote nicely. But even Yesterday was despondent. And Narada Muni had to come, and he explained in the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. My dear disciple, yesterday, your only problem is that even though you have done so many wonderful things, you have not glorified sufficiently the name, the past tense, activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Krishna, he descended into this material world. He enacted so much past tense. He even played the amorous past tense that men in this world like to do, just to attract the mind. So it's unfortunate a person who is not attracted to hearing these narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one ever wants to be free, if everyone wants to be happy, if anyone ever wants to be successfully in the goal of human life, he has to dedicate his life to hearing and chanting about. There is nothing other else than hearing, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Mr. Prabhupada glorified Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami because the both of them that which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was given for, as a solution for this age. They're the best practitioner of these two angles of bhakti. Chanting and hearing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. The whole of our Krishna conscious activities. It starts with and ends with this. Hearing, chanting the holy name, pastimes, activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Krishna himself, he said, Gemma Kama Chame Divyam. Even you Tatuka, one who understands these activities by appearance. Why does the Lord ask to save Maharaj Parikshit? The Lord engages in dramatic activities to attract the living entities. All of the activities of the Lord appearing on the earth is just to attract our mind. And when one becomes sufficiently purified in the mind, like Prabhupada said, he will develop attentiveness to hearing with rapt attention these narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when one is able to do that, like Maharaj Parikshit, who will attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord at the end of life. That is the essence of Krishna consciousness. There's nothing other more than that. The whole of our Krishna consciousness movement, Srila Prabhupada explained, is just about to create an atmosphere to hear, to chant the name, pastimes, glories, form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this every 1-2 hours every day is the most auspicious moment of anyone's existence in life. And for those of us who had the opportunity to join every day, I congratulate us because what? Like as Goswami mentioned in the Maker of Devotion, our attainment at the lotus feet of the Lord is guaranteed. He used the word nearing in time. It is guaranteed. It may take some time, but we'll be there. Because for this devotional service, there's no loss of denomination. But like Prabhupada said in the concluding sentence of the purpose, we must develop sincerity. And sincerity of purpose is what? To honestly, sincerely live a culture of life, of eating, sleeping, making, defending in line with the instructions of the spiritual master and Krishna. So that is the essence of Krishna consciousness. We just sit here, talk about Krishna, and we walk straight into the kingdom of Krishna, in Goloka Vrindavan, at the end of our life. And that is why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorified the devotees of the Lord. Krishna Bhakta, Nishkamya, Ataiva Santa, Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhikami, Sakali, Asanta, that everyone in this material world, they will never be peaceful. In this world or in the world beyond. Only the devotees of the Lord are the right to be peaceful and happy. Why? Because they have no other thing but just to please the Supreme Lord and his devotees. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop here and then open for questions, comments, and maybe there are some chastisements based on the discourse. So I would like to stop here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much for the class, Sarika Prabhu. Thank you. Well, anyone with a question can raise their hand like Kavi Kanapur Prabhu has just done. So Kavi Prabhu, you may unmute and ask your question. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Salika Prabhu, for your wonderful lecture. And so I have a question, and I have one question. A question that look like suggestion also that I want to ask is in two. Number one question is that you made mention about if you continue to hear about Krishna, Krishna will become purified in the heart by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and all those engaging in devotional service become pure. But sometimes we see that the more we do this activity, it's like our heart become more and more hard. I don't know why. What is going on? You see some people, some devotees, they have been practicing for many years, and it's very difficult for them to forgive also. Well, I'm talking about myself. I don't need to. I'm suffering. So what I'm trying to say is that is it the thing is going upside down, or what is wrong? And the second one is that you mentioned that in our group we have about 200 and something people, and only about 10 are attending the class. It's true. So what can we do to bring them to come now? Because that is our work. We have to think and crack our brain. What can you use to entice them? How can we bring these 200 people to come to this platform? Because if we just say they are not coming, they will not come. But how can we bring them? So we have to sit down and really, do that work. So that is the two things I want to say, Pablo, please.
Thank you very much, Pablo. Thank you very much. That's a nice question, and whether you call it a comment, but it's actually like nice point to reflect upon. And that is why I quoted Prabhupada directly in that purport of 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse number 44, where Prabhupada explained that the secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in the mind. And no one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. That is key. In other words, if you say we are hearing all of this time and all of this time, then we have to look at it closely. If we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, it purifies the heart. That is what the sages have said. Now start praise you about this. So by hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam, all unwanted things in the heart are removed. But then, why is it that people are hearing and they're not developing the purification of the heart? Prabhupada mentioned that they're not developing purification of the heart because their actions are not purified. And why is their action not purified? Because they are eating, they are sleeping, they are fearing, they are mating is not purified. So if you want to actually get the effect of hearing and chanting the Srimad Bhagavatam, one has to cultivate, and that is why Prabhupada nicely give us these 4 principles, which he called the principles of freedom. One has to eat in Krishna consciousness. One has to sleep in Krishna consciousness. One has to mate in Krishna consciousness. One has to defend in Krishna consciousness. And what is the way to develop these 4 activities in Krishna consciousness? It's given by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction. Eat that which is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Srila Rupa Goswami mentioned 5 items, important items of bhakti. And that 5 items is surrounded around what? To hear, to chant. But in addition to that, one has to take prasadam. And how do you take prasadam? You have to worship the Lord. Because it's part of the process of worshiping that you offer to the Lord. And when you take the element of the Lord, you become purified. So our eating one has to eat only prasadam. In the beginning of devotional service, when they said we cannot eat boga, sometimes it's not understandable to us. It's just like one says, but I'm hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day. But when you're eating bread, it's just like a practical example is like igniting a fire and pouring water on it. If one is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and is engaging in illicit sex, one is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and is engaging in eating boga, when he's hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, it's depending on his physical strength for defense. Then already it may get some benefit, but it will take a very, very long time. Extremely very long time. Just like a man that is igniting fire and pouring water. If the water does not surpass the fire, The fire will still burn, but it will take a whole lot of time to. You lighten a fire and you are sprinkling water on it. That is exactly what happens. So when we see that someone is actually in devotional service, is practicing Krishna consciousness for several years, and is not advancing in Krishna consciousness, then check these 4 activities in his life. If he is not breaking one, he must be breaking 2 or 3 or 4 of them. Unless one follows these 4 regulative principles of devotional service. That is why it is emphasized that's what Nadamuni said, that this devotional service is the supreme activities, but no one can actually develop devotional service without being qualified. So one has to cultivate the proper activity, proper lifestyle to be able to benefit from hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And the second aspect of your question, so all of these people that are on the platform, how do we bring them? You know, in the Bible, there is a statement that where your treasure is, that is where your mind will be. When one's priority in life is not Krishna, it's not something that can be faked. One can pretend in so many things, but one cannot pretend in devotional service, because pretension and devotion, bhakti, does not go together.
Hare Krishna, Babu. Answering that second one, let me just say something quick, because I'm actually in one other group also where I attend lecture sometime, and their own lecture fall around 1:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
It's organized in American devotees, Indians, Americans. So what I'm trying to say is that in that group, there are about 200 people there. At least every day, there are about 870 of them. They chant together 11 o'clock to that time the class will start. And then when the lecture is there, and they stay for that lecture, there are about at least, I say 30% of the people in the group, they are participating. So if only 0.1% of the people in our group are participating, then there's something wrong in our relationship. That's why I say we have to really think of how to do this, how to achieve it. Something is wrong. That's why people are just there. They're okay. If you send message, they will just look through your message. But if you say lecture, they will not come. Something is wrong. And to buttress the point, Sadashiva Prabhu mentioned yesterday. He said, hey, see how we are here today now. We want this kind of thing. I was expecting you to tell him, say, Prabhu, we have class every day. Please, we are going to invite you so that you can come, so that we can get the same association. But you didn't say anything, so I kept quiet. So I just also buttress that point. So please continue.
Thank you very much. Actually, I was going to that point when you come in. I'll share one pastime that happened some years back. When His Holiness Brother Vyas Maharaj came to Nigeria. He came to West Africa. I think that was in 2005. I think that was in the year 2005. So Brother Vyas Maharaj came, and when he visited, when he got to Lagos, and he was asking devotees, the first day, he looked at our program. He attended all of the program, whatever program we organized for him, he spoke. Then the following day, he was in his ashram. Then he called myself, Chanakya Pandit, Bhakti Maharaj was Parushi then. I think just before he went to India, or whether it was 2004. I think it was 2000, just before Maharaj went to India for science initiation. Then he was asking, first he asked Chanakya Pandit a question. He said, I observed, since I came in, that when you want to talk to me, you don't want to mention another God brother. You don't want him to be around. When he wants to talk to me, he doesn't want you to be around. He said, why is that? And they gave him, Krishna Prabhu gave so many excuses, and he looked at back to there. He asked him the same question. Then he shared his story. Said in the beginning days, he said, we used to call ourselves a particular name. When we look at those who newly joined devotional service, we call them neophytes. He said, but because we're very prone to our material attachment and all kinds of negativity, he said, when issues are brought before Srila Prabhupada, he said, he will call them new fighters. He said, I see in this, he said, with no offense to anyone, he said, I see majority of you as new fighters. He said, so neophyte, instead of calling neophyte, we call each other new fighters because that is what neophyte does. Neophytes are always fighting. So he said, therefore, they are called neophyters. And why do people fight? Ignorance. One acts based on the level of exposition of knowledge that he has. When you read the question that Maharaj Yudhishthira was asked, I don't know if you can find that right away. In the Mahabharata, when you listen to some of the questions that the Yaksha was asking Maharaj Yudhishthira when Arjuna and Arjuna were seized in that river, that pastime. Some of the questions he was asking, when you reflect back on that question, he was asking Maharaj Yudhishthira, one of the things he was asking him is that, what makes one a human being? Because one cannot be a bhakta or a devotee unless it becomes a human being first. But to come to the platform of a human being, one must first develop certain level of qualities. And these qualities are not artificial. I just want to see if I can get that particular question. Now, this is the question I'm trying to refer to. He said, what makes one learned? How does one attain exalted state? What is one's second self? And by what does one becomes wise? And Maharaj Yudhishthira answered, by study of the Vedas, one becomes learned. Asceticism raises one to an exalted status. Intelligence is his second self, and serving elders makes one wise. And in that question and answer, when we go back to these questions and answers, several questions and answers that Maharaj Yudhishthira was asking several questions relating to human activities and in relationship. So when you look at West African Yatra, it is quite unfortunate. We are all part of this situation. No one is exempted. But the reality is that although we seemingly have been practicing devotional service for several decades now, we have been in devotional service, but most of our activities are in reality based on the standard of the scriptures, that of a neophyte. In other words, it is lack of knowledge. It is lack of deepening level of Krishna consciousness that makes us develop animosity. You mentioned Sadashiva. I intentionally did not, because I didn't want that discussion to degenerate to level whereby we start throwing punches because we have visitors on that platform. But the reality is that Sadashiva himself, you can imagine, I mean, if you, this is one of devotees that Sadashiva was like one of the oldest platform that we have, WhatsApp platform that we have in West Africa. The Krishna Kata was actually formed by Sadashiva. But I don't think in the last 3 years, Sadashiva has appeared on that platform. And it all ends up explaining what Prabhupada is saying in the purport, that the qualification is required. And that qualification is not something that One is given by title. You might be given the initiation as a Brahmin. You can even be a sannyasi. But what qualifies you is the quality that you develop based on your day-to-day lifestyle or activities. So in West Africa, Advaita Krishna Prabhu spoke on the platform sometimes. Let me even share this. Advaita Krishna Prabhu spoke on this platform sometime back, and he was talking about the session is having in Mauritius, and few people are joining from India, systemic study of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was explaining now how many numbers of persons that attend it. When you look at those environments, the culture of relationship is centered around education, knowledge, developing qualifications. But externally here, our activities is surrounded around external things. Our focus is what reflects on how we relate with each other. There's no other better way to explain it. Because no one can fake advancement in spiritual life. It's not possible. One cannot fake it. And that is what Prabhupada ended the purpose by explaining that above all, the purification of the mind, purification of activities, the kind of lifestyle, he ended up by saying, using the word sincerity. It is very crucial. So one has to first and foremost be himself sincere. And to the degree of our sincerity in Krishna consciousness, what is that sincerity? Sincerity in following the rules and regulations, sincerity in chanting the rounds without being fortunate. You know, what distinguishes a neophyte and an advanced devotee? A neophyte is wanting somebody to tell him what is to be done. An advanced devotee knows what to do. That is what makes the difference between a neophyte and an advanced devotee. So we may call ourselves sannyasi, we may call ourselves brahmana, we may call ourselves babaji. We can give a name, whatever title that we ascribe to ourselves, it doesn't matter. Our advancement is reflected in how our attitude to the practice of Krishna consciousness. Is it that there is not enough announcement on the platform? The announcement is there. Is it that there is not enough definition of the purpose of hearing this Bhagavatam? The Bhagavatam platform was created for the purpose of bridging the gap because of what COVID-19 created, separation. So to bring about synergy, one of the very strongest anger of bhakti is association with devotee. It is said that no one can become a devotee without the association of devotees. So this opportunity to associate has been given. Now, our inability to align, to click into it is dependent on the level of our sincerity. Anybody can say anything, anybody can fake anything, but we cannot fake the back devotional service. It's not possible. Our attachment, our advancement in devotional service is reflected in how much we are attracted to hearing, associating with those who are in devotional service. I hope I answered your question.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So we'll go to Oladimeji Prabhu. You may unmute and ask your question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much for the wonderful class. Very inspiring and educative. I have a question regarding the subject for the class today. Yeah, you listed the 4 principles that were supposed to be followed. And I could remember that Prabhupada also mentioned intoxicating and also gambling. And that's where my question is directed to. You know, of these days, you see, in terms of the children around us, when you are watching TV or listening to programs or radio programs, there are a lot of adverts that portray all these things in such a way that you will just think, is it beyond alcohol or beyond? Now they now portray it in such a way that it looks as if it's a normal thing in life. And they spend money on adverts, betting adverts on every kind of sport that you see, whether on the internet, on the radio, TV. And also the way they advertise alcohol at times, you look at it as a, so my question now is, with the kids that we are bringing up, how are we going to scale through the society? And these are the things that they have told us to go against or stay away from to liberate our souls. Now they are bringing it in such a way that, you know, modernizing it, making it so attractive. I'm not saying that I'm being tempted with those adverts, but you know, the kids coming and the younger ones that are not well educated enough, how are we going to teach them and also put them through as they are growing up? That's my question.
Thank you very much, Ladimegi. Very nice question. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Yatyat Asharati Srestas Tatad Eva Tarujana Sayat Pramana Kurute Lokastad Anurvatante. Translation, it says that whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standard is set by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. It is sad to say, how many of our leaders in West Africa are on this platform now? It might look as being offensive, but that is the reality. Whatever a great man does, whatever the leadership does, the general populace of you follow. I was trying to avoid this actually statement when Kavi Prabhu's question came up. Because the reality is that our leaders are not here. They come in and give lectures and then go away and they never come onto the platform. Because they themselves are not coming, so people are not inspired to come. You cannot get what you don't give. You cannot give what you don't get. It is not possible. So what our leadership of the world is doing is what is happening. Srila Prabhupada was able to create the International Society for Krishna Consciousness because Prabhupada himself was an exemplary leader. Our leadership is the cause of what we are seeing. So what you are explaining in the material system, why is it that we cannot influence the society? Society is influencing us. And we were on a tribute program yesterday. Somebody was mentioning something that is crucial. When look at the qualification, the activities of our leaders. We all know when Bhakti Maharaj comes into the country, the kind of wave that it creates. When our leader, what is the role of our leadership in society? How many, to what degree is our presence in the society influencing the society we are in? So because by our activities, by our conduct, we have allowed the material leadership to supersede. The glories, why is the sages talking about knowing about the activities of Maharaj Parikshit? Because it's exemplary. That is what that's why I was reading the beginning sentence of the purport of the text, number 4 of this verse we are reading. Prabhupada mentioned that in the purport, in the next verse that we're going to be reading tomorrow. He said, there is a need for the science of Krishna in human society for all suffering humanity of the world. And we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the science of Krishna for their own good. So there is a need to change the leadership consciousness. And how can we change the leadership consciousness when in ourselves? It is what we are a reflection of what is happening in the society. We are in a society whereby our influence does not count. In most of the places we have, nobody even knows that we exist. Recently, I was called on to write a rejoinder on a divorce controversy in one of the national dailies. And then when the editor of that newspaper called, he said she met me. She is the president of the National Association of Women Journalists of the Federation. We met in one program, and then I spoke in that program. Then he took my contact. So I just saw a message from her on the WhatsApp, and he said, I want a rejoinder on the subject matter. Because why? because we were there in that situation and it was involving so many personalities who are gatekeepers of the society. The greatest challenge, why these things are prevalent, is this: that where is the Hare Krishna TV in West Africa? Is it that we lack the capability to do it? What is his name? This Prabhu in Ghana. For how many years? He has a satellite facilities to give us a TV channel. We have never been able to take it. He said, I just want to, at no cost, no requirement of any 1 naira. I said, I have it. It's wasting. I want to create a channel.
That's such a right problem.
Such a right problem. Thank you very much. We're not taking advantage. So that is the quality of our leadership. So we are the cause of what we are seeing in the society. Majority of our leadership are so much embedded in our own mind and senses that we've forgotten what we're supposed to be doing. So whatever great men does, common men follow. We are very proud to say we are devotees of Krishna. But what is our influence in the society? When Srila Prabhupada came to America, Srila Prabhupada was not satisfied just sitting. He affected all structures of society. That is why he was able to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. And when one is less busy, when one hand is idle mind is a devil's workshop, he said. When we're not busy with Christian activities. If you notice, when I was coming into this program, actually I was late. I had to run out of somewhere. There is I went to give a speech at one program, Plateau Peace Practitioners Network. It's a network of organizations, about 84 organizations on the plateau, involving the government, the joint task force of the military. The government was there, and I was there in that program. Why would we go to such programs? I don't have any business with any NGOs, but we make sure that we're present in most of this. As we speak today, there is no major decisions that will be taken on peace development of the society in Plateau State that will not be called. But do we have this reflected in any of our centers? No. There's a network organization called Justico Center for Peace. Maybe I'll put the site on the chat room for some of us to go to that site. Just Stakeholder Center for Peace. Just is the capital city of Plateau State, and that stakeholder forum comprises the government, the NGOs, the peace practitioners, the religious leaders. But I stand in it there today as the chairman of the Rules and Regulations Committee for that program. I'm an executive member of that program. Why do we need to go to all of these places? Because we want to present the principles of Krishna consciousness. So the reason why this Beth Niger and whatever it is that is going on in the society is going on is because people have to be busy doing something. The living entity cannot stay without doing anything. They have to be engaged. And if we don't engage them, Maya will engage them. So the fault is not those who are promoting those things. The fault is because our Krishna consciousness is not loud enough. It is our fault, not their fault. These things are becoming prevalent, are becoming the norm of the society. Because why? Because we are not present. Although we seemingly are present, but we are absent in our relationship with the society. And that's what Krishna says. Whatever a great man does, common men will follow. That is the problem.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I don't know whether I answered the question.
Yeah, I think Kavi Prabhu has a question or something to say.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. Just So part of whatever the Prabhu was giving as answer, and when he mentioned about Satellite Prabhu in Ghana and his TV station, is Satellite Prabhu still there and you see have that civic program?
It's still there till tomorrow.
So why I'm asking is that there was one day I wrote ISKCON Desire Tree, because ISKCON Desire Tree is one devotee in Mumbai, in Chupati, who have desire of engaging devotee in all this media and everything. And he started like that in a humble way, and ISKCON Desire Tree became a very big thing. And now they have HARE KRSNA TV also. So one day when I saw the HARE KRSNA TV, immediately I saw the HARE KRSNA TV, I wrote them. I said, what can you people do to bring this TV to West Africa? Because we have this giant this TV station in West Africa, the one from South Africa, DSTV, and they have taken over everywhere. And I'm seeing many Muslim programs on there. Many churches that have their own station there. I wish we have our own so that we can put our own there. So the reply, I send message and I call. So the reply, the Mataji, who is like the secretary, gave me is that he says, yes, Prabhuji, if you can make arrangements, we have all the programs. If you can make arrangement for us to connect with them, then we can make it available. So that's why I'm asking you. So if it's possible, what we just need to do is that you can discuss with, we can discuss with Shrivas Prabhu, Salika Prabhu. You can discuss with Shrivas Prabhu because he's in Ghana there, and he's the leader in Ghana there, and it's easy for him to reach Satyaraj Prabhu. So you can discuss with him. If possible, I can discuss with the person I discussed with in ISKCON Desire Tree, who have all this teaching program, and then we can connect them, and they can just easily connect our program to the decoder. And me, in my house here, I can be enjoying nice programming from India. What do you think, Prabhu?
Thank you very much, Kavi. Actually, it's a very nice, wonderful one. Actually, I've been getting the message from them. I'm also on the ISKCON Desire Tree web. Actually, the problem in West Africa is very simple: lack of coordination. Several years back, I think about 5-6 years ago, when we were supposedly in the leadership structure of West African Yatra, myself, what is this devotee name in Ghana, who is lecturing in one university? I've forgotten his name now. Few of us were appointed, and they said, I gave this same suggestion, and we're supposed to form a committee to be able to work out the possibility of getting this satellite TV, educational satellite TV, being broadcasted in West Africa. But that place where we had the meeting is what happened. That was the last time we discussed about it. And I tell you, the challenge is this: that we have an ISKCON organization that has no organizational structure. And that is why it is difficult to make anything happen. Because as an individual, there's a little an individual person can do. And we've made several efforts in the past to see that we have a kind of a structure of management, a central secretariat office that runs, that able to do things. When everybody expects somebody to do something with nobody doing anything, then it becomes a problem. That is the challenge. And then the fact is this, that we pride in our individuality so much that we forget the strength that is there in working together. As an individual, I'm struggling, another person in another place is struggling. But to achieve at a mass level like this, there must be a kind of cohesion among the devotees to be able to achieve this. We can strive based on your suggestion. We can call Srivas Prabhu again, but there has to be somebody who is going to be able to do it. And the fact here is that as we have our devotees now, because of our way of managing things, we have become so thin out, so much so that practically in every other temple, we finally just the temple president and his wife, or just the temple president, or temple and 2 persons, some small children. Why is this happened this way? Because we have failed woefully in devoting.
Babu, sorry, Babu. If they can, if Srivas Prabhu can connect with me with Satyaraj Prabhu, and I will easily connect with ISKCON Desire Prabhu. I can do that one. I can connect the 2 of them because I don't need to do anything. It's just to make sure to connect them, and and they just drop the thing inside one thing that is roaming around in the satellite, and everything will be connected. So I don't think Babu, 1 minute, Babu. You mentioned about organization structure. We have structure. It's just that people duties overlap themselves, and sometimes people are not even performing their duty properly. The structure is there. It's called we have regional council, we have national council, we have temple president, we have temple command. So structure is there. You just
there is a difference between you are a manager, Prabhu. There's a difference between having positions and structure of management. Because when you say you appoint somebody as a you study management, you said you have appointed somebody now as a regional director. A regional director that has no facilities to run as a regional director. He is going to raise money for Boga for his temple. He has to raise money to feed his wife and children. You have been everywhere. You've been to India. You've been to Mayapur. You've been to Chopati, and you see the way things are run there. So is this the way they run it there that we run it here? No, because for somebody to be effective in service, there must be a role giving. Apart from the role giving, there must be facility for him to be able to operate. In the past, I was lamenting. I wasn't getting anybody sent to just to assist me in the service, but then I have to look for it myself. So when you have a kind of a position where the temple president is the financial secretary, is the financial controller, is the temple commander, is the temple pujari, how do you expect things to run one man shows? It doesn't happen that way. And then when we started, you are privy to this information in 2015 when so I was discussing with the devotee yesterday. Yes, before we had that people I was telling, we have a date, go to that date in Apapa. Nobody's been thinking about that, but Bali is left now. Those dates were brought, and I feel responsible because I was instrumental to those dates coming. And what has happening to those dates as an organization, we have not even thought about it. We have not even think what to do next. And then we, the family, decide one day just pack it and go and throw it outside the water or anything, clean up that place. We will start reacting that time. But now we are not planning that. Oh, an installed deity is there. That devotee has left his body. And then what happens to those deities? They are installed motives. How is those deities taken care of? Nobody is thinking about it. So I called the National Council chairman yesterday, and I was explaining. I said, Prabhu, I'm saying it to you now because I know we will start reacting later. But now is when we're supposed to do something. He said, call the family, discuss with your managers now, and then have a position so that you can approach the family. This is the implication of installed deity, and this is what is supposed to be done, and all of that. So, but when you want to do something as an individual person, you can only do as much as possible. You cannot do everything. But not to digress too much, I can assure you, this matter of the satellite TV, because I've been getting a lot of, even today, I got a message in regards to that from ISKCON Desire Tree team, that we should bring in, we just give them a link, they will connect, and they can have TV, educational TV locally here. So maybe I'll coordinate with you after the program. We can see how we can make this one happen.
No, but we don't need anybody to do it for us. But we'll do it. If you see any small hole, do it. If we are waiting for somebody to do it, nobody go do it. Babu, now we go do it. Now we go set that example where we want. Now we go do it.
Okay. Work on it after this class. We will connect so that we can try to see if we can do something. KRSNA Prabhu hand is up.
Please do all the connections and make sure that it's happen. If you can do it, discuss with Srinivas Prabhu, let him give you Sataraj Prabhu number, connect with this. Since already they are communicating with you, connect them, let them. Prabhu, go ahead and do it. Nobody, don't, like you were saying that nobody is talking about. You have called Yaduna Prabhu and told him about it. So you are somebody now. You are saying nobody. You are somebody, Prabhu. And you can make a big difference. So you are doing it. Well done.
Hare Krishna. Kavi Kanapur is fired up today. Thank you so much. We have KRSNA Prabhu's hand up. Prabhu, you may unmute and ask your question. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been off the form for quite a while. I'm one of the guilty guys too, and I'm not feeling very good. I got a lot of problems with stuff. I was supposed to be going out on books today, but it didn't happen. So I felt quite sick the last couple of days. But anyway, it's nice to hear the level of enthusiasm from all the devotees here. It always is. Kavi Karna Peru and Sadhika Peru in particular. Very nice. They still got they've still got fire in their belly to accomplish wonderful things for Prabhupada. But I've had a lot of realizations. I arrived in Ghana on the 26th November on a 2-month visa. And I've spent 4 consecutive days going with a recently initiated disciple of Srivas Prabhu, young devotee, 24, 25. And, you know, we just went down into the Tudu region. I mentioned this to Sadeh Prabhu yesterday. And I have to say, for the first day, people just walked past. The second day, they walked past us, they stopped, they came around and they looked. Third day and fourth day, they started opening books and opening their wallet, and they were buying books. So I could see that there really is an interest within these people. It's just a matter of marketing properly. And then we had an Istagosti where everybody was invited to say whatever it wanted to say. And, you know, I just mentioned a couple of points. I mentioned this to Srivas Prabhu in the car from the airport. And I said, I've heard that ISKCON Ghana has got farmland, agricultural property. And what has come of that, if anything? And he said, the problem is in Africa, people want instant money. They're not willing to do the work and wait for the money. They want immediate revenue. And that doesn't work. They're not interested in that. And I said, but how about if we just got outsider people and we gave them the farming job to do? Instead of paying them in cash, we just allow them to take half of whatever they're able to grow on the farm. And he said, that's also a possibility. And then I mentioned also the possibility of having a restaurant. And he said, there are, 3 or 4 vegan restaurants here in Accra. And despite the fact that they're very small square area of square footage, they're doing very well. They're prospering very well. So I think in many ways, the younger generation in particular, they run away from ISKCON because they don't see any future. They don't really see anything. And then if you look at religious communities in the US, like the Mennonites, the Hutterites, and all these kind of things, they provide a source of income for younger generations. And what they do is they say, when you come of age to 18 or whatever it is, you can go out of the material world for 2 years and you can play around and see what you think. If you like it, you can stay out there. If you don't like it, you can always come back and you can build your life here in our religious commune. So these people have a sense of faith that ISKCON will take care of them, and they're able to make commitments to the institution. We don't have that. And anybody knows that. If I had any kind of medical issue or whatever it is, I'm on my own. There's no one I can run to for help. And I think when we start appealing for money from the worldwide body of devotees on things like GoFundMe, it sends a terrible message to the young generation. All this does is serve to inform the public that we don't take care of our people. So we not taking care of our people, how can we expect people to make commitments to our institution?
Exactly.
Am I still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like something's happened. Sorry, my voice is really bad. Everything is in trouble today.
This picture on your profile, is it your daughter?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a daughter or not. If I have a daughter, she's probably 42 years of age, born in Tanzania. No, not to the best of my ability. I got to figure out a way to change that. No, so to answer your question, the answer is no.
Hare Krishna. So,
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, Keshav Prabhu just hit the nail on the head. The thing is that 2 things actually is crucial here. If we want, whatever we see in today's Krishna consciousness is because the Prabhupada did it and his followers followed him. So we as leaders have to do it, then people can follow us. And then maybe I'll make a special appeal to the organizers of this platform, although I'm considered one of them. Maybe we should form a quorum, a team of members of this platform to go and offer prostrated obeisances to all of our leaders, to somehow or the other try to schedule themselves so that they can attend the classes, because I'm very sure that if they attend the classes, then we'll get more people to attend also.
I'm very sure that if they attend the program every day, you will still not get many people to attend.
No, you see
you know why I'm saying like that? You know why I'm saying like that? I have my reasons. See, Prabhu, it's not about the leaders coming. Does the leaders have relationship with the people also? I'm talking about the people on that platform.
That is exactly the problem, man.
See, Prabhu, see. Let me give an example, a very good example. Immediately, any day, Ghana Shakshu Prabhu is coming to this platform. He just need to put a message on his platform where he has relationship with people. He communicates with them almost on daily basis. He has impacted on their life. You just need to put a notice to them that I'm going to be doing this program. You will see them, they will be, before when we don't have up to 100. You see, if you don't come early, you don't get a chance. Another example is that, let's give example. Bhaktivedanta Damodara Maharaj, if he's coming to give lecture today, I can tell you, all his disciples in Nigeria we want to join, all his disciples in India they want to join, and many other disciples who understand English they want to join. Why? Because he has relationship with them. So all the people on that platform, how many of us have relationship with each other? So in that way, to encourage each other to come to the class. So that is the main thing. It's not leaders' problem, it's everybody's problem. That we have not built our relationship to the platform that we can encourage ourselves to do devotional things.
You answered your question, Prabhu. Leaders makes the people makes the leader. The thing is this, that when I say the leaders, I strongly believe, and I'm speaking based on what Papa said. You see, when the leader is right, what is leadership mean? Leadership doesn't mean because I have the title, I'm the overall, and I'm the Babaji or Sanyasi or Guru. It is, leadership means someone who have a relationship. And I use an example. I say, when Bhaktivedanta Maharaj comes in, what kind of experience do we have? When His Holiness Kapachana Maharaj comes in, what kind of experience do we have? Because naturally they're accepted as leaders. You mentioned something very important. Leaders don't have relationship with their followers. And so therefore they are not leaders. Because if they are leaders, they must be able to connect to their followers. So, but you said something very interesting. If Bhaktivedanta Maharaj is giving class, he will speak, his followers, his disciples will come. But should it be that way? It shouldn't. That shouldn't be the case. Because today in Nigeria, we don't see anyone who is more senior in terms of leadership than him. So if he comes and he encourages every other person to come, no matter how disrespectful any devotee is in the yatra today, if Bhaktivedanta Maharaj comes on the platform and says, I'm going to be on the class today, I want every devotee to be here. Even if all of them will not come, at least you see 60-70% of them come, and they see that he himself is there. And this is what I'm talking about. Not that they come when they want to give class and they don't come again, because Srila Prabhupada once was asked a question, why is he chanting? Because Prabhupada was chanting on this beat. And then Prabhupada, if Prabhupada does not need to chant on the 16 rounds on the beat at his level, but because he wants to shift, and even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said in the chapter 3, that if I do not do my duty, people will take advantage of this. So therefore, leadership must play a role for the followers to take. And Krishna Prabhu mentioned something also which is very crucial. We do not have the culture of devotee care. So therefore, even those who are attracted, the new attracted people, don't feel ready to commit, because they feel that those who have committed themselves, even our own biological children, they don't feel interested. Why? Because they feel our fathers have done this. What has become of them? So why should they do it? This is the challenge.
Babu, is a big problem, and it's everybody's problem, and everybody have to solve it individually. Somebody will not solve it for us. It's an individual solution. We have to solve it individually. We should not expect somebody on top to come and solve it. Whatever we can do to bring the solution on the table, we have to start doing it individually. Somebody is not going to do it. Because if the person is not doing it, means that he's not seeing the problem. So anybody who is seeing the problem should bring the solution and start applying the solution. If somebody is not moved to bring a solution or to try to solve a problem, means that he's not seeing any problem. You know, we are different kind of human beings. Unless you see something, you cannot do something. So if you think that somebody, so we have to do it individually. Like me now, as I did now, I know say I cannot influence the whole Eastern Yatra or West Africa, or I cannot deliver any. So I want to deliver my family first. So I've already came on one side so that I can, let me strengthen myself by delivering my family first. Then we can talk about the other one later.
You're turning this into a joke, but the fact is this, that you realize that teacher probably just put a nice point in the chat room. He mentioned a Tivika Maharaj. He took science in 1971, but he attends classes every day till tomorrow. So the reality is this, that we should understand this, and it's not something that is skyrocketed philosophy. We all know what is going on, and we can make it happen. The reality here is this, that we just have to do it. We just have to do it. We know what is the problem is, and this our individuality mentality is a symptom of new fighters, like Veda Vyas Maharaj said. It's a symptom of our new fightness, because we don't work with ourselves. And then, okay, Kavi Kalapura is going to go and do it, so Salika is going to do it. But Prabhupada said it doesn't work that way. Prabhupada, when he was living, he said, we have all had in our past times of Srila Prabhupada, they took a broom, he said they should bring a broom, a single broom, stick of broom can easily be broken, but a bunch of broom cannot be broken such a way. So we all have to come together. This idea, mentality of that, okay, you go and make I'm not Srila Prabhupada, I'm not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so I may not have that kind of empowerment to drag everybody. But if all of us, they said that if all of us come together, somehow or the other, try to push the mission, then we will see it happen very wonderfully. But if we are acting on the individual level, we will achieve something individually, but it will not be much. Okay, I've been lamenting in the last 1 month or two. My last 2 kids left, and then they went to the university, and then I had to do everything alone. Practically almost every other day, I have to give the class somewhere, I have to give the lecture somewhere, I have to give the speech somewhere, and all alone. How long can I do that? One day when you see that Salika has collapsed and is gone, then, oh, that devotee, his wonderful devotee, was serving nicely. Then they realize, oh, women will have supported him. But how long? I'm getting old. I mean, I'm knocking on 60 years of age. It's not a child thing. And then before you know it, I don't have that energy I had 10, 20 years when I joined, 30 years when I joined the movement. And how much can I do? Srila Prabhupada was able to, at the age of 70, cross the 7 seas and establish Krishna consciousness. But we're not Srila Prabhupada. So we all have to come together somehow or other to make this movement move forward. Because individually, yes, we can achieve something, but collectively, we can achieve great things. And that's somehow or the other we have to allow happen. And if we actually cooperate with each other, the younger generation will see that and they will be inspired to join. But if we that are supposedly the leaders are not working together, then how do we expect the younger generations to come together to work with us? It's a big problem, and we all know it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Salika Prabhu, and the beautiful questions and concerns. It's already 2 hours gone. I had a question, but I think I'll let it slide. It's already 2 hours gone.
I would like to hear, sir, please ask that question. Ask that question so that we can hear from your experience, because your questions are filled with realization. So don't go away with the realization. We want to benefit from it. That is the essence of today's class. The combination of Sukadev Goswami and Paraparishi makes.
Well, if you permitted me to ask, then I'll ask. My question is, I think it said in the purport, and you also reiterated that Maharaj Parikshit was given 7 days to live. And once he understood that he was going to die in 7 days, he dedicated those 7 days to hearing Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. But what about us? Me sitting here, you sitting there, him sitting there. We don't know whether we have 1 hour or 7 hours to go. But we all should assume that we are all dying. I mean, you said this in your lecture, which is a fact. We are all dying. We just don't know when. But if we all actually think that we're going to die at any moment, then the best thing for us to do is just do what Maharaj Parikshit did. And if we all did that, then how are we going to feed our family? How is the road going to be put in place for others to ride home? How are things going to run when everybody begins to act like Maharaj Parikshit, that I have only 7 days to live, so I only have to hear Bhagavatam? So is it okay for us to think that we're going to die at any moment and all we need to do is to hear Bhagavatam? Or, I mean, what do we do? That's my question.
All this year where you done scatter for red, I didn't know the cover. You go to enter food.
Hey, thank you for Bro.
Okay.
Thank you very much for Bro. That's why I said I should ask that question, because your questions brings a whole lot of reflections and meditation. Prabhupada has actually answered that question in the purport, and the answer is very simple. That we just simply need, knowing that we're going to die, there are basic things that we cannot afford not to do. And part of that one thing is that as long as we live, we will eat, we will sleep, we will mate, we will defend. Because as long as we have this body covering us, we're still going to do these 4 things. So Sri Prabhupada said in the purport, in the purport to that text, very nicely, Prabhupada break it down. He said that in that purport I quoted, he said, no one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind, and no one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, hearing, and mating. So the whole idea is that we should cultivate our eating, our sleeping, our walking, whatever it is that we want to do, connect it somehow or other to Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. That is the secret. It is not that, because, in fact, we have to be even more wrapped in attention and in our attentiveness, more than Maharaj Parikshit, because Maharaj Parikshit knew that he had 7 days and he has to, he is going to be that, but we don't know. And the more that we don't know means that what? That is what is the essence of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means 247, constantly, always. And that's what Prabhupada, when he's using that word, he always use the word together. And sometimes he looks at tautology, that always, constantly, always. When Prabhupada uses those words to get together, he's not just using it for fashion or for using sake. Meaning that every moment of our life, somehow or other, should be connected to Krishna. And how do we do that? We want to engage in sex life. Then we should engage in sex life according to the instructions given in the scriptures. In other words, we should not engage in sex life if it does not reflect the desire of Krishna. We should not eat if it does not connect to Krishna. We should not walk if it does not connect to Krishna. We should not go to farm if it does not connect to Krishna. The pure devotees and the non-devotees are similar in activities, but the activities of the pure devotee is liberating, while the activities of a non-devotee is degrading. Because why? The consciousness. That is why Prabhupada said consciousness is the missing link. So we have to somehow or other utilize our every momentary activities to be connected to Krishna somehow or other. That is what it means. It does not mean that we should not work. Yes, Maharaj Parikshit was fortunate. He knew that he was going to die in 7 days. So he could resign and then forget everything. But we don't know, and because we do not know, that is why we have to plan the whole 24/7 activity in such a way that no moment is lost away from Krishna consciousness. So we'll do everything, but we'll do everything connecting it to Krishna. And the moment we do anything that we see that it's not connected to Krishna, then we should know that we are deviating. So we should quickly recollect back. If we are doing talking, even chatting with a friend, or if we're going to the cinema, whatever it is that we want to do, we should constantly always think in Krishna consciousness. And when we do that, those activities which seemingly looks like material activities will be elevating us in consciousness. So much so that if that moment of death comes at any time, we will not be caught unaware. So that is what is the secret. The secret is to connect every activity to Krishna as much as possible. And I think you are doing very nicely in that regard.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. No. Thank you so much for the class. Lots of important topics addressed and lots of amazing contributions given. Just more or less like Anishta Koshti, bringing about how we can develop and advance our Krishna consciousness in our region there. So thank you. Hare Krishna. So at this point, we ask all the devotees to unmute themselves, and then we chant to beg Hare Krishna to express all our appreciation to Prabhuji.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
All glories to the grace.
Guru Maharaj.
Thank you very much, everyone coming. Please, if I have made your name offenses in the course of the message, please do forgive me. And the Mother Narayani, I'm very happy to see you. For some time you've not been coming around. I'm very happy to see you here today. Please kindly always be with us. You were very regular at the time, but at the time I was wondering what happened. So I'm happy to see actually you join us today. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mother.
Thank you,
Mother.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Keshava Prabhu. Thank you, Loka Devi Mataji, Dr. Oladi Meji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Hare.